Yo, bro.
You, do you hear me?
Yeah, man. Hey, how's it going? Hey, thanks for coming on, bro.
Yeah, well, welcome. Just settling down now.
Yeah, how you been finding this pandemic? How's it been treating you? All good? You're used to it now?
Yeah, well, in a way, we're used to it now. I am most of the times in Sweden. I have a Swedish girlfriend, so
Okay,
well, here the indoor facilities are still open, and I can still train.
that's
Of
good.
course,
That's good.
it's a little bit different than normal, but well, it's life. We have to adjust.
Y- That's it. Just gotta get on with it, I guess. So
Exact, exact.
how did you first get started with athletics?
Well, I was around 9 years old when I went for the first time to the track. I played tennis by that time, and I joined my sister who wants to discover a new sport. So, yeah, I kind of hanged on to the track.
Hmm. And who was your first kind of your first coach, would you say? And are you still with that coach, or did it change? Your coach changed a lot.
Nah, well, first you just get to the track like the normal track club trainings, and like you change coaches every 1 or 2 years, like when you get older and go to different groups. But
Hmm.
when I turned, I think 18, 19, mostly I can remember like after I was done with my high school, like I was 19, I
Mm.
um, I came with Vince DeLange. He has been my coach for a long time. We have trained together for 10 years. And I told him like, okay, I want to do a little bit more than just the club trainings. I just want to see how far I can get in
Mhm.
decathlon. So we trained for a long time. We had a lot of successes together, and we split roads after 2016.
Okay. So, why your event? Why the decathlon?
Why decathlon?
Yeah, why decathlon, man?
Well, I kind of think that it's it's like how we start in Netherlands, mostly on the track. Like it's often like a diverse kind of training that you get to do. So you start to learn all the disciplines, and I think I kind of like the diversity. Um, I liked that it is like complex and challenging. And then there was not like a real, like I think one event that I was like, yeah, Pole vault was my best event already for a long time, but it was not like a real event that I thought like, well, I see myself doing like one event like for the rest of my career. So kind of got into it and hang on to it.
Mm. So in the decathlon, who was anyone you was looking up to when you first started? Any heroes in decathlon?
Yeah, I had of course some heroes. I can still remember good that I met for the first time Roman Severla. Well, he was
Mm.
the first over 9,000 points, and he was still in the field when I started. So um, I can remember I came to European Indoors in 2009 in Torino, and I was sitting next on the bench next to Roman. We put on our spikes, and he introduced himself to me, and told me that he saw that I scored like 6,000 points indoors, and like, well, like nice to know you, and yeah, that was quite cool. I think for me then there it
Mm.
also changed from an idol more into like a like an
Mm.
how do you say it? Not a concurrent, but well, like an competitor.
Competitor, yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so, but then I actually pulled out in Torino with broken hamstring in pole vault in the warm up. So the
Mm.
next time I saw him again was in Gutsis 2 months later, and he was doing his warm up, and he stopped his warm up and came and asked how it was going. So I can still remind that very
Mm.
well. Like he was this like biggest decathlete in the world, and he just stopped
Mm.
and asked like how I was doing, and I think that
Yeah.
was like for me that was super cool. Like I was 22 and
Oh
total like
wow.
rookie.
Yeah. So you just spoke about injury. What's it like when you complete like a good event and then in the next one you pick up an injury? What's going through your head? Is it just like frustration or
Yeah, well, of course, every injury gets his frustration. especially just in the beginning, especially if it's going well. Like if you don't feel anything coming up, and then it just like a muscle snaps or something happens, and yeah, it's shit. But as I said before, also with the pandemic, like it's also part of life, and like we're training on the edge. You have to be on the edge. I always say if you want to see how far you can reach. So yeah, it's always frustrating, but on the other hand, like after you are injured and you start to recover again, I think that's the nicest and the best time. Like you just feel how much like improvement you make day by day, and because normally if you're on your high level, then every day is about the same. Like maybe you throw a few centimeters further one day than the other, but if you get injured, like actually you start with like walking again and jogging again and running again. So it's also it has something beautiful. I just like to see it from the positive side.
When I'm watching when I'm watching football, I love just hearing people like Van der Vaart and Van Gaal talk. So why are Dutch people, you lot are very funny, man. You got a lot of character.
We talk funny.
Yeah, no, you've got character. Like I love talking to people. Yeah, I was wondering like what.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think well, doesn't everybody has character?
So how was winning the was it European under 23s? How was that? And would you say that that experience led you kind of put you in good stead to achieve stuff in your senior career? That
has been a long time ago already, but yeah, man, yeah, it was cool. I think like well, just before European under 23 2009, I did my first 8,000 points in Gutsis. That's the one that I did after I tore my hamstring in March in indoors. And yeah, I was kind of the favorite, I would say, for that European under 23. Michael Schrader from Germany wasn't going to compete. He had scored more that year, but he was focusing only on Worlds, or he was injured. I don't know exactly. So it felt a little bit like I had to win that competition in my mind. Like I was the favorite, and then you can only maybe lose. But yeah, of course, it was cool to get the first like international medal and prove that you can do another 8,000. I did 8,112. Yeah, so I think it was cool, and I felt that the future in decathlon was going to look okay.
So when you said you was the favorite, so was there pressure on you then? Or did you feel the pressure?
Yeah, I think you always feel a little bit of pressure if you know that you scored high as a year, and you know that you're in good shape. Then yeah, well, I think I need a little bit of pressure also. Like if I want to compete good, it's hard to go to a like a very small competition and be totally like hyped for it. So I felt a little bit of pressure. Not that I now think like, oh, that was terrible. Not at all. Like it all went quite smooth, and after I jumped pole vault, then my closest competitors felt a little bit there. Like I had a big gap before javelin and 1500, so then it was just more like enjoying it.
And speaking about that pressure, what is it like when you're performing? Say for example, you have it don't have to be a big competition, but even just like a meet in your country, and you have friends and family come and watch you. Is that more pressure, or is that support? How do you feel when they come watch you?
I see it more as support, definitely. I have had some competitions where I had to stop injured, and then when I knew that there was a lot of people, I felt just sorry for them. Like I knew that they were out there for me, and then I felt like I was failing. But on the other hand, like I always got the support. Like either it was good or if it was bad, and it's mostly like family and closest friends that were around or are around. So I see it more as support than as pressure. Yeah, sure.
And when you're going around the world, you're going to all these competitions, all these training camps. You ever missing family? Is it ever hard? You ever get emotional sometimes?
Not yet, not really emotional, but well, the last years we haven't been around so
Yeah.
much. Like we went around. Well, I'm now living mostly in Sweden, as I said before. So yeah, I do miss my family a little bit in the Netherlands. But no, I think like if you're with a good group of athletes, and like often we were with more decathletes and often heptathletes together, like with the Dutch team, and then I think that you support each other. You have like a kind of connection together, training, and time flies by. Like even
Mm,
if you're out on a training camp for 4 weeks, like it's gone in no time.
hmm. So what was the Europeans in 2010? You medaled. What was that like? The biggest was that a good competition for you, or was you a bit disappointed
Yeah,
you
that
missed?
was absolutely like a surprising good competition. I well, it was 2010, so 1 year after European Under 23, so where I did like 8-1-12, and just before I went to Guts, I scored 8-1. I think out of had 56 or 59. It was raining second day, so I knew it was a little bit left in the tank for a better score. But
Mm,
well, lining up with like all big names like Andrei Kravchanka, Roman Barras, there was many good athletes that I didn't know yet that well. Like I wasn't around in the circuit for long. But I think I kept very good to all my own scores and my own like focus. And it was a weird competition because I got first to hear after my 400, which was my PB, which is still my PB actually, that I got disqualified because I ran out of my lane.
oh, no.
It was a crazy competition because I think we started at like 9:30 in the morning, and I run the 400 at quarter to 11 in the evening. And then
Mm,
I got to hear I was disqualified, and then they turned it around because I wasn't on the line, and so I was super late back in the hotel. And the next day started again at I think 9:15 or so in
mm,
hurdles until 10. So it was crazy long weekend. It was a hectic weekend. But yeah, after my last javelin throw, I was just all of a sudden 5 points behind Roman Barras for
mm,
like running for the gold. Uh,
mm.
that
Yeah,
was
I've
a
seen.
tough race. That was a tough race. Eventually, he took it in the last lap. I planned to take over in the last lap and win 1 second, but I never passed.
I just see in this competition you actually got a personal best at the time. So would you have still been happy if, for example, you didn't medal but you got the personal best? Would you have seen that as progress?
I absolutely saw this progress, and the funny part is like maybe before I would have signed like if they said like you will medal for it, but straight after the finish and the few days after I was like I was so close to gold. And I can still remember the first like interval session after that I was running my lungs out, and I thought I will never be beaten in the 1500 again. So it motivates. Of course, I was satisfied, but it also motivated me to work and to keep working. And it's only a little bit later that I start to like realize that I also had to maybe enjoy a little bit longer or more like successes. Like it's a little bit like a roller coaster. Like you do
Mhm,
bad, you want to improve, you do good, and then the next meet is coming up. So I did learn a little bit along the way that I also had to enjoy the way.
mhm. So with this decathlon, so when you do, for example, when you do the 100, are you already thinking about the shot put, or are you just how do you even think about all these events at one time? Because they come quick and it must
Mm.
be. I just
I
wonder.
think that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
Um, the thing is like it is two days competing. Um, I think that they clocked it one time on there was like 7 minutes efficient like moving time, like all the
Mm,
time together, like just the 100 meter and 3 run ups in long jump. But it's mostly the hardest part on it is like the focus and the relax between and the stress and
mm,
the ups and the downs.
mm,
Um, yeah, I think that normally I would say the best decathlon, you will just be like in the moment, 100-meter first, done,
Yeah.
next one, done.
Mm.
It's very hard to say that you never like wander with your mind like to the next or the second next event. Lately, I got this like tip from sports psychologist that I had to like after my event, you often change shoes because you have like spikes for every event, of course. So I just had to write a small note, like 100-meter, like what I did, like how it felt, and I had to put the note in my shoes and my shoes in the back, and then take new shoes for the next event.
Mm.
And by that movement, I should have like switched the button and go to the next event. And I think kind of that it helped me like along the way to learn to
Mm.
move from discipline to
Definitely.
discipline.
Yeah. So, when you're competing, are you ever nervous? Would you say?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Think so. But as I said, I think that the best part is when you can get those nerves into like a little bit like adrenaline and get use of it. Yeah, but it would be weird to not be nervous sometimes. Like often in a big competition that is what you have like trained for, like that last year or maybe even the last 5-6 years, and then it has to happen. And it's very nice if it happens, and it's very frustrating if it doesn't.
Mhm. So I assume it might maybe the javelin, but what's your favorite event in the decathlon?
My favorite event is definitely pole vault.
Okay,
Actually,
for
like it's my best event. It's like event 8 of the decathlon. It's like a kind of a joker that I have. Uh, so yeah, I think that is definitely the most fun. If I had
what?
to choose one event to specify in, then it would also have been pole vault.
So what's it? So you said pole vault. Are you obviously you mentioned your coach and that, but um, do you speak with other people who actually focus on who have their pole vault as their primary event, like Mondo, for example? Like, do you try and watch people like that as that's your favorite event, or
Well, I definitely watch it a little bit more. I think I have been like competing a little bit like smaller competitions in the Netherlands, like
mm,
in pole vault field and like nationals and so. So, but um, yeah, still I see myself much more like as a decathlete. So it's not so much that you have much contact with other
mm,
athletes around. Like you're so much focused on your own program, and if you work for like decathlon, it's only a few show ups every year that you're there, and the rest you're
yep,
training.
yep. So 2011 World Champs, you came fifth. How was that? You said that was a tough competition, Daegu?
Yeah, I think mostly I think it was like a decent competition. I had very much my eyes on like the year after, of course, Olympics. So we
Mm,
had a little bit the idea in 2011, like, okay, let's see that I can like stabilize a little bit like the level of 2010 and show some good things, and keep working towards like qualify for London Olympics. So I think fifth place was very decent.
yeah,
I think out of head I did. Oh, you have probably the scores
yeah.
8,304. Is that correct?
No, it's 8,298.
98. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I think it was a decent competition. The toughest part there was like heat. It was about 34 degrees, even in like there was no sun like to see, but it was
Mm,
like tough out on the competition on the field, and especially with pole vault. Like I started at 520 starting height, so I after warm up I had to lay in the stadium for about 2.5 hours. There was no chance to get back into
mm,
like inside or so. So I know mostly that I lay there with the towel with ice and
mm,
with water.
yeah. So in that competition, Mihail Dudas, he got a national record and he came sixth. And
Mm.
Suarez, no, he got national record, came sixth, and Suarez he got SB and came third. Would you say in that year, obviously you got Trey Hardy and Ashton Eaton, would you say they were on top form that year? If people can get national records and still finish way below them, and
Yeah, I think so. Well, like it's of course different. Like in every uh, country, some
yeah,
countries don't have yet a very good national record. That's also what we can say, of course. It was mostly 2013 actually that we were in Moscow that we had like 15 people over A3 or
mm,
12 people over A3 I think, and number 13 close to it. Um, I think that we mostly could say that the level was going up in decathlon, like the in width. Um, but yeah, I think some of like Trey and Ashton they had some very good scores. I think actually that the normal like the points for a medal has always been a little bit around maybe 8.5 and a little bit
mm-hmm.
for
So
worlds.
London 2012. How was that? How was that experience for you? And do you enjoy
Uh,
London?
yeah and no, like I was so focused on the Olympics, and later when we like evaluated, I think I was a bit over focused.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, or let's say 2009, I won European under 23, and I think the biggest focus was okay, 2016 I will be 29 in Rio. Then
Mm-hmm.
there is like where your top of decathlon is, and there I want a medal. Then 2010 I scored 8.4, and I thought, oh, now the step to a medal in Olympics is not so big anymore. So I
Mm,
think I took the goals a little bit like earlier. So I
mm,
was very focused on scoring high in London, but I was off from the 100 meters, like to
mm,
everything like went off a little bit, and then I felt like it was, and then I missed totally in discus. I think I did 32 meters. I two times I fouled, and the third one went out like a, we call it
mm.
like a pancake. It just like went into the ground, and then I felt like, well, now it's all thrown away. So it wasn't the best Olympic experience, I must say,
Yeah.
as I could imagine. Olympics hasn't been my friends yet this so far, but yeah, I think I quickly was over that and said like, okay, well, keep the main focus, and that is 2016.
Mm. And who you like agree that, for example, if you have, for example, if you have a bad few first events, it could it could be very hard for you to get like a medal. Not you, just in general. You
Yeah.
need to start well.
Um, yeah, well, I think mostly for like psychological, it's good to start good. Of course, like if you
Mhm,
start bad, you start to doubt if you're in shape, if you did something wrong in trainings. Even though you can like of course mess up a start in the 100, and you can like be like jumping extremely good in long jump, but just being too far in front of the board, like it doesn't have to say anything about your shape. But yeah, of course it gives you a boost if you start with the PB in the 100, like that is obvious, I guess. um, and especially on this level, like where we are with many who are like able to score 8.5 on my level, where like that is like my top level, then you're not allowed to make many mixed mistakes. Definitely not big mistakes. I think by then Ashton could have like
mm,
made the mistake, and he was a little bit like superior. Um, but all the others, like yeah, everybody could take a medal, and it's actually still often like that. Like there's definitely often in every big decathlon 8 people fighting for a medal, because some will
mm.
get injured, some will miss a height, maybe in pole vault. Always happens something along the way, and that's the game. That is the beauty of the game, and it's the complex problem.
So even when you got the silver at the Europeans in Barcelona, what's the fans like back in Netherlands? Was it royalty when you went back?
Yeah, well, I think there was some like activity in my club, and so that people were enthusiastic. But other than that, like athletics isn't so big in Netherlands,
Yeah, true.
so the fan base isn't so huge. It's a little bit the problem, like what we have seen earlier before, and I've seen that Fredrik Samuelsson is fighting for it now. Like we are not seen so much like as decathletes. Like it's only those big few competition, the few big competitions that come on TV. But even Gutsis and which is like it's like the mecca from decathlon. Like it isn't shown, at least not in Netherlands TV. Like we have had maybe sometime reporter there, but other than that, it's often just a page in the newspaper. That's a shame, but it's how it is.
Yep.
We
So
didn't we
what?
didn't do it for the money or for the fame.
Fair enough. So I see. Was the European indoor gold that much sweeter because of how London turned out? Uh,
Yeah, in
20.
a way, it felt like a revenge,
Yeah.
for sure. Like I had a very good winter training or training towards the winter, and I just felt like I was in good shape. I started with national championships with 6,341, which was a huge score on heptathlon, and it was a huge national record for me. And then I could do it again like 3 weeks later in at Europeans, and there I have absolutely felt that I was the favorite, and I only could lose there, and
Mm.
luckily I didn't.
So did it feel even sweeter? Obviously the national record, but you got it was a world lead as well.
Yeah, it was a world lead then, and I think still it's like 10 score or so in the world in time. So yeah, I think it's like one of the sweetest and one of the best competitions I've done, and many things fell at the right place by then. So it was very nice to show that after like an Olympics that I maybe made a little bit later. Like when we evaluate, I think I made it too big in my mind. I was a little bit like over focused, and by then losing a little bit grip on myself.
Mm.
And luckily, and I can remember very good from this heptathlon in Gothenburg uh, that I was extremely focused, but also extremely relaxed.
Mm. And Maya, your biggest threat, would you say?
Biggest?
Yeah, your biggest threat. Your in terms of
Yeah,
getting that
yeah,
gold. Yeah.
yeah. He was doing like a very good heptathlon. It was 6:2:99. He was scoring like PB after PB, or at least close to it all the time. Um, and the shit part was that we had, I think, a 6 hour wait before the 1,000 meter or something like that. Like we were
Mm.
done in Polwood, and then we had to come back to the stadium in the evening to run for the 1,000. So I can remember that I had some nightmares there when I power
Mm.
napped in my hotel room. But I then just only focused on like if I just stick to my race, then he has to do something extraordinary. And if he can do something extraordinary, then I can do something extraordinary in the last lap too. So yeah, I just kept the gap that I had with him.
And at the Worlds in Russia, I actually I thought you was kind of unlucky. Well, not unlucky, but your points wasn't that bad. Then you ended up coming fifth. It was like, do you remember?
No, but as I said, like there was 12 people over 83,
Yeah.
so I could also have had 50 points less and be place 8 or so. I don't know how much it was exactly, but yeah, I didn't feel unlucky, but I know that I messed up in javelin. I think I did 56 meters, so I lost some points there. I don't think that I would otherwise have medaled, but it could have been a better score. Like it was a very decent decathlon, and but not like the ones that you like hope for on a world stage. That just
Yeah.
everything falls just to the right side.
Yeah. And does that show the difference between competing at European level and world level?
I don't think that there's much difference between that. It's just a few other names that are there. Like I always have said, like all the decathlons is just nothing changes. It's like a 400-meter track, and it's the same events and it's the same order.
Mm.
In my mind, I never made it that big. Only than Olympics in 2012, maybe that I made so big in my mind. But I think I'm very like easy thinking like that. Like well, it's just another competition.
Yep. So a
And
year,
yeah.
yeah. So a year later in 2014, what's it like coming fourth twice in
Yeah, well,
bloody hell, man.
it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was a high standard that in Sopot you needed 62.40 or 62.50 for a medal. Thomas van der Plaatz had a medal.
Yeah.
I had 61.98, I think.
Yeah.
Out of
61 now, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think I never thought about too much about it. That I think I did a good heptathlon in a way. Like I had some problems in my road towards there. Then I had to do nationals. I did 62.40, something like what Thomas did. And Thomas was at our national championship, and he did 61.90, I think, there. So we swapped places in a few weeks later. I think I was in a way satisfied. I did the indoor season with two very decent scores, or very decent, like almost 62, and heptathlon was like actually very good after some struggles. And then outdoors, Zurich, yeah, it was a very high standard. And again, like I was fourth, but Arthur Abel, I think he was 1 point behind me on fifth place, like 84.78, 84.77.
84.78, and
Yeah, so like it was very close. It was a weird competition, as in that we during pole vault there was storm, and the competition got stopped for 1.5 hour ish, and then they were talking about finishing the decathlon the next day, like in the third day, and that was a little bit weird, of course. But then they decided it was good to and safe to go back into the stadium again, so I had to continue at 5:20 on my second attempt. So we had to warm up, and then we finished it. And yeah, I think there I also could have done a few things better, but I think that's also the game of the decathlon. Like there's always something going a little bit under level and some things better. So again, decent. 84.70 is like close to, of course, also my PB, but yeah, well, you hope to just score a little bit higher and get another medal.
Mm-hmm. This is a question that I've always wanted to ask a decathlete. Is there any part of the order which you change? Like, for example, you'd put the 100 meters on the next day, etc. You'd move the pole vault. Is there?
Maybe we can have pole vault 3 times and skip the 450. Yeah, nah. I don't know, actually. It's just like we're so used to the order. I even like often train in the order. Like I used to do, if I do 400-meter practice, next day hurdles and discus, it's a little bit like a kind of a routine that got into it. I wouldn't say that it would be easier to do it different. Like the 400 in the end of day one doesn't give you the best legs for the next day, for sure. But on the other hand, I don't know where else you would place it. So then we better skip it.
So would you say just speaking, we know 400 meters is a killer. Would you say 400 meters is the toughest in the decathlon?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like toughest, like in a way it's super easy. It's just getting out of your block, and within 50 seconds it's done. And you just like simply set your start as hard as you can, and you just like keep to hold it as long as you can. So it is tough as in mental, and it doesn't feel nice. but in a way you also cannot do much wrong. That's the good part. Like in a 1500, you can still like either start way too hard and totally blow up yourself. Also doesn't happen so often. So there is much more. It's much more tricky to jump high jump or pole vault. Anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think having the 4 and the 1500 gives you like the kind of the heroic feeling afterwards. Without it, it wouldn't feel the same.
Mm. So in the decathlon, we see guys like Trey and Ashton. Would you say it, for example, if you was top at top at a stage of the decathlon, is it easier to chase someone or to be chased?
In the last event, you mean, or
No, that just in general, like after a couple of events, if you're
yeah,
if you're if you're fifth, would you prefer being there?
yeah.
Or would you,
I must say that I actually try, or I try to never look at the standings in
mm,
between. Like, of course, you sometimes start to think a little bit like few events out of it, but like it can happen so much. Like in 3 events, I can do 3 times just a little bit under my level, and someone else can do 3 times PB. Like it doesn't. I have learned always, and I think it's totally right. Like you cannot change anything on someone else. The only thing that you can focus on is your own scores, and you're just. I think you always start a decathlon trying to score 10 times as close to your PB or over your PB as possible. And no matter what someone else does, I will do better or worse. Like, yeah, if that's true, then I would be totally not focused on myself.
mm-hmm,
So it's only before the 1500 that you feel like, okay, now I have to, well, win X amount of points on someone, or I have to like defend some seconds to someone. Then I would like to choose for defending and leading before. Then I have to
yeah.
to chase and to win.
Mm. So you got I see bronze at the European indoors. Were you happy with that?
Uh, I think so. I had some struggles with hamstrings before. I didn't feel totally fresh before I started. So I think I've proven or showed quite many big scores indoors. So yeah, it was nice, decent. Um, Skureniev did a very good heptathlon right there. Like he jumped big PB and long jump, and um, yeah, well, I think I did what I could do. Like as I said before, like I think I focused on my 7 events, and I think I couldn't do it better if I
Mm,
compare it with like the last months before the
mm,
competition, like how it felt. So yeah, I think it was not realistic to expect for myself, for example, a national record there.
mm, yeah, because it was because that's why I asked not too long ago about the difference between European and Worlds because at the World you did you just said 61.98 and
Mm,
this bronze was only a 61.85 I think.
yeah. Yeah, well, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
that is the difference between worlds and Europeans. Yeah, that's that there's a few more competitors. Like I
Mm,
think in general, Europeans are in general combined defense is strong in Europeans, but yeah, there is some like very strong from outside of Europe also, like Cuba, US, Canada. So that makes a difference. But I thought that you meant more like is it like psychologically a difference between worlds and Europeans? That I
mm,
don't think so. But yeah, of course, there's a few more competitors.
hmm. So is there anyone you prefer indoors, outdoors, hept decathlon, heptathlon, or
Yeah, I would say like if I check all-time highs, my indoor score is better than my outdoor score, 63.72 compared with 85.39. But the feeling after outdoors is a little bit, even a little bit stronger, like with the 400, and so like indoors feels easy is not the right word, of course, but like the heroic feeling, like the real, like the feeling that you conquered something, like is bigger after a decathlon than heptathlon. If I would just focus only on like where is my chances highest to have a good performance, then I would say indoors.
Mm-hmm.
7
So
events, also 3 events less to miss something.
so the 2016 Europeans, I think that was probably your lowest place that I've seen. What? How was how was that psychologically? I'm just competing there.
Well, it happened actually 2015 in Gutsis.
Yeah.
I had a very good first day. Like I was 50 points ahead. I was like 8-6 progress or a performance after day one. And then in the hurdles, I fell over my last hurdle. Actually, I fell over Damien's last hurdle. Damien Warner, he
Oh
kicked
wow.
his hurdle, and it bounced up to my lane, and I was over my hurdle, and my right foot got stuck in his hurdle, and I fell. I finished that competition. I had to rerun, and then I felt that I couldn't support on my wrist, so they taped it, and I had a lot of painkillers. And I can remember that doctor said, like, if you try to jump pole vault, you will die. Like, you no chance that you can hold on to the pole. But after a very big load of painkillers, I could hold on. So I did qualify. That eventually I did only 8-98. But discus was shit, and pole vault hurt it. And in the 1500, I just felt bad. So eventually I had a surgery to my ankle and my wrist, and the ankle surgery was just before Europeans. So I knew that Europeans would be like tricky, but I said like, it's in Amsterdam, I'll just like do it to get some like comfort or not comfort, to just get some like tests before Olympics, because I knew that time wise it would have been like super tricky. So I started there, and there I felt like I wasn't totally in shape yet, but I wasn't so worried yet about it, because like only Olympics would count. And then second day, I just thought I'll just go all out and I'll see what happens. And I crashed almost in the first hurdle myself this time. So I finished in like 16 seconds or so. So I kind of gave up, and in the 1500, I decided to not finish the race, to just continue to training like as soon as I could after, because time was ticking before Olympics. But then that said, when Olympics came, I fell in a way good. But in our last training camp, 1.5 week out of Olympics, I did a start from a blocks, and I felt something in my heel, and I thought like, oh damn, that was my Achilles. It's done. It's like over now. And then I was surprised that I could still walk. Later, it turned out that I tore like one of the ligaments in my ankle. I didn't know yet then, so we just only raised the painkiller amount per day. And in my very last sprint session, 2 days before the decathlon, I felt something in my upper leg, in my quad. I felt that I pulled it.
Wow.
Still, we thought like, well, maybe with adrenaline, maybe everything will work out. Maybe it's just a cramp. I'll just start. But after 100, I knew in Rio that was over, like that it was. And then I started to realize I also had to do like surgery to my right wrist after that crash with Damien. So I felt like I was unbalanced. I had like time pressure. I had just trying to push too hard to make it until Olympics, and I wasn't ready. And
So
that was quite dark period for me after that. Like after that, I just thought like, yeah, this is 2016 has always been like the competition that was like biggest in my agenda. Like there, I want to medal. Like if everything goes like according to plan, and up to 2015, everything went according to plan. But then some two stupid injuries came from a kind of accident that I would say wasn't my fault, but on the other hand, like if I was closer to Damien, I wouldn't have fallen over his hurdle. But it felt for some time maybe a little bit unfair to myself or so, like I wasn't happy with it. And then I already had said to my coach then, Vince, that we had already discussed that we would stop after Olympics, like that it was time for something new. And then I just thought, like, you know what, I'm just going to try to do it myself, because I didn't see anyone else in Netherlands that would take the role of my coach. Not in the people that were around that I had some connection with. So I said, like, first of all, I will not come back to the track before 1st of January 2017. I will just do all kinds of sports, but no athletics. And then next of all, like, the biggest thing is that I have to get back where I was starting athletics for. That was just my fun and a hobby. Like, when I was 9, I went to the track. I did it because I thought it was fun.
Yeah.
And the 3 months into Rio Olympics, I have done like only on like diclofenac painkillers, like daily tape on my Achilles. There was too many small things that didn't make it fun anymore. It just felt like discomfort, and it only felt like this like vision on Olympics. And then I thought, like, that's not how it should be, and that I'll have to get rid of. And yeah, it turned out very well with the national record in 2017.
Yeah. So would you say the Europeans in 2016 was a bit of a shame, just because also it was a home games?
Yeah. Well, but I think the biggest, I think that's also why I did go there, to at least show myself and to get a little bit of feeling before Olympics, because I had been injured a long time. I had done a long recovery. I knew I wasn't exactly ready, but it was also not that I took a spot from some other like decathlete Dutch one. So yeah, it was a shame to not be there, the Eelco that I can be. Like I couldn't enjoy it as fully with not perfect results. Even though I knew that it wouldn't be perfect results, I still had a hard time to like really enjoy it. So if I know now what I knew, if I knew then what I know now, I think I wouldn't have started, and I think I wouldn't have like stressed too much into Olympics, and just maybe has been more relaxed. But well, you learn by experience, I would say.
So some people I've been talking to, some say China, South Korea, but have you got a favorite track, or just your favorite country of just competing in?
Well, I have done 2 times 8.5 in Gutses. So I would say Gutses is like one of the coolest tracks, coolest events for decathlon that's there. I must say that I always have also enjoyed Talans. It has been very often like so late in the season that like the biggest motivation was gone. Talans is a super competition for atmosphere. It's a super competition if you have missed the season and you want to qualify for next year in something. But if you have done a good decathlon in May and then a big championship, then often it comes more as a like dessert. But that also makes maybe the atmosphere extra good, that everybody is more relaxed. Everybody has holiday after that. Often you go like surfing or doing something together like the day after the competition, so they know that it's like the end of the season. Other than that, I don't feel like I have so much of like a favorite track. I very much like the track that I have, my hometown in Apeldoorn in the Netherlands. It's eventually the time where you spend most the track where you spend most time is your training track. So you have to enjoy that one, I think. And yeah, I have seen some nice ones over the time and in training camps and so. But yeah.
So how's the was it Birmingham, the World Indoors 2018? You came fifth?
Correct.
Birmingham?
Yeah. How was the? Sorry.
Yeah, it was Birmingham. Yeah, Birmingham.
Yeah, it was Birmingham. Yeah, I got a little bit back, like ankle problems just before, like so I was focus mostly on not jumping too much and still doing well. But long jump and high jump both were not super. I came fifth, but with only 5.9. So it wasn't perfect, but it was also a little bit like, well, if I can go to a championship, I want to go there and maybe I can surprise. I couldn't, and I had then focus on Berlin outdoors 2018. But then the ankle started to come up much harder. I couldn't at all do a high jump. Like I had to quit there. I couldn't jump and it hurt like crazy. And I have been saying a very long time, like, feels like my ankle is broken. But like I can sometimes I cannot stand on it or not jump on it. So straight after Berlin, I went to see the orthoped again, and then he found out in I don't know how many MRs I have done on the ankle that there was like a bone, like a splinter, which sometimes looked good, but it could move, and then it was like stuck between two ligaments or two tendons actually, which caused the pain. So he removed that piece of, and he said like it has been always like broken, like an avulsion fracture, you say. So it was quite a big. So I think I had been lucky sometimes that it didn't hurt because the splinter was in the right direction, and sometimes it was against me, and then I really couldn't like stand on it or jump on it. So after we removed that, I felt much more relieved, and I also decided to continue a little bit longer with decathlon.
And then talk me about the Europeans that year. Was that in Berlin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, what should I say about it? Like for me, it ended in high jump, like fourth event. Then it was a little bit for me like frustrating. I thought like, why again the ankle? Like I have had surgery to this. Like I have had troubles with this for a long time now. Should I switch like takeoff leg, even though I'm 31, or what am I going to do? But then, well, the orthoped came with like, well, now I see something that I have not seen before. Like maybe we have been focusing too much on one thing, and we totally lost this part. And yeah, after we decided to take that out, I felt actually quite good again to get back to it in 2019. But that wasn't a good year.
And so I see your Instagram. You have a lot of bikes on your Instagram. Is that a big part of your training, or is it just what you're doing now to just keep busy?
No, it's no. Well, I am still training. I still have the goal to do a good decathlon. I didn't compete last year because I felt that it was wrong in Corona year to do a competition. Like I felt it was better to focus on basics and just see what will happen. Like again, and not stress to do a decathlon, even though I would love to do one. No, it's ever since 2017 or like end of 16, I decided to do a little bit more. Like, well, I also became a little bit older, and I tried to do a little bit more on bike to be safe. So, like, kind of, I can say instead of like 3 times running, I now do 2 times running, 2 times bike. So I do a session more, but like safer. So it's of course not like 1-to-1, like the same feeling or so, but I am 100% positive that I can train also on alternative ways, even though to stay good and healthy. Most of all, I think that now before a good decathlon, I have to be in good shape. I have to be like strong, and I have to be explosive. And there's not going to change much in my like technical things or so. I'm not going to learn a new technique in pole vault, and I'm not going to do something totally different like after I've done it for like this for like 15 years, or at least since 2007 I turned senior. So it's So I do train much on the track when I can, and I do a lot of hurdles and some jumps and so. But I also try to do a little bit smart, that if I do some cardio work, that I don't do everything running to just save knees and ankles and feet and ligaments and joints. To think like, okay, well, maybe it's a little bit less efficient, but better than an extra cycling session than
Mhm.
doing a little bit too much.
Yeah. And is there any part of of training which you know you have to do, but you don't actually enjoy? So that might be like weights, it might be just stretching. Like, because I know
Uh,
stretching can take a long time if you stretch properly.
yeah, it's true. I must say I don't stretch so much. No, it hasn't been often like a thing on my program. No, there's definitely like sessions that I think like sometimes on the track, especially like I write my own programs. So if I write down that I'm going to run 3 times 300 fast with a long rest,
Mm.
I very often wonder after second like why I wrote this down. Like, but then I just only try to keep in mind like, yeah, well, but on the other hand, you know that this has to be done in order to
Mm.
run a
Yeah.
decent 400 or so. So of course I'm not enjoying them at the moment. I also know that 15 minutes after the last run, I feel like happy, and you get the endorphins and you get the good feeling from it. But those are definitely the hardest to train. Um, but I still enjoy to go to the track. Like I will drive off to the track after we're done here for a second session. The first session was actually here at home. I did intervals in the forest. So I will go later for high jump and some shot put. But I still like to go there. Like I often say, like I have like the best job in the world. I only know it's like temporary, and at the moment it's also voluntarily. But yeah, well, as soon as I start to feel that I need something else as a career, or I start to feel like I don't want to go to the track, well, then I think I should wonder or not wonder. I think I should quit directly.
Mm-hmm.
But still, until now, I I 9 out of 10 or 95 out of 100 sessions go to the track because I feel and I feel good about it. But and if I don't feel good about it, I think like, okay, it's also my job, or I do it for a bigger cause. But as soon as that gets like 7 out of 10 for fun or 5 out of 10, then I know it's time to quit.
Yeah. And would you agree that athletics, um, like as a career, it is quite short? Because how many Olympics can you actually go to? Like three,
Mm.
four at maximum. It's a short
Yeah,
career.
true. Well, I think top sport is often short.
Yeah.
And now I try to think even less about like how many Olympics, because for this year also, of course, there is planned Olympics. Uh, I would lie if I would say that I wouldn't like to go to the Olympics, but I have also said before, and I very much I think it's a little strange that there will be Olympics in the situation as it is right now. But if it's there, it's there, and I also want to be there. But I plan now a decathlon end of April in Italy. But I have said, and I'm 100% I stand behind that. Like I don't want to chase after Olympic standard. Like it should not be coming like, okay, I don't do it here. I travel to another competition. I try there. I go to another one. I try it. Now my goal is to score another nice and good decathlon. And maybe it's the last of the career. Maybe there comes a few more. I don't know. But from now on, I will not time pressure myself, and I will not chase after something that Olympics is not going to be the Olympics as it should be.
True.
It is just going to be another TV broadcast competition without audience, and so like it has not at all any Olympic feeling. I think, if you ask me, but I have the luxurious feeling that I have been at two. I haven't had like done any of them that I really enjoyed, but it's still if I score the standard, I definitely go, and I would like to go, and I think I can do this standard, and I feel I'm good for it. But if I can do A3 somewhere else, then I might even think it's more nice.
And how often are you ever watching your runs, your throws, and your jumps back after you compete? You watching them back on the TV, picking stuff out that you can improve?
Sometimes, like I do most of this like in trainings. As I said, like I am my own coach, so I also most of the technical stuff I also do alone. Like I film my jumps. There's a lot of sessions I just do like because I know, and there's quite some feeling about how it should be or how it shouldn't be. If it's more a technical session, as in pole vault or whatever, I definitely film. Pole vault's the only thing that I want someone else at least on the track, because I don't want to do it all alone if something goes wrong. But I'm not so much into that. I have been like watching a lot of competitions back over and over again. Like, nah, it's often to the next one, and I would rather look at someone that does a technique a little bit better that I can learn from than watching my own mistakes again and again.
No, no, but surely you watched the 2013 one, the indoors, the one you got gold. You watched
Yeah,
that
of course.
watched that back
Yeah,
all day.
yeah. That one I've watched a few times, like the summary. Yeah, for sure. But it's not that those I watch a little bit for motivation and feeling good, but not so much for like, oh, how did I do it here technically?
Hmm.
Because then I would rather look at the technically better movie than the one that I did myself.
Hmm. And obviously it's not over yet, but right now, would you say you're happy with what you've achieved so far in decathlon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it isn't over yet. But when this came, like with the pandemics and so, and also before, I think that I have had a nice career. I have nothing to be like sorry for or whatsoever. Um, it's just that I still enjoy doing it, and that I still feel like there's some like fire left, and that there's something left in the tank that I can show. Because I have heard many times that people say, why wouldn't you just like stop or give up or whatever? It has nothing to do for me with giving up. It's just like I'm still enjoying this, what I can do, and I enjoy it more than thinking about going to an office to work or whatever. Like I can do this now. I want to do it now. Yeah, of course, I have had some like setbacks. Setbacks make victories only sweeter, I must say. And I would much rather stop after a nice decathlon than that I stop after like a bad one and then halfway a pandemic. So no, I'm not done yet. But I am definitely, of course, happy with what I have achieved, and that's what I also said like earlier before. Like it's good sometimes maybe in your career, and that's maybe more to young athletes now or for the future, to also like be happy with your results a little bit longer, like straight after a competition, and don't focus only on like improving. But I think that I will mostly enjoy these like old medals and so, like when I'm done and when I start to think more about it and maybe talk with kids or whatever about it, and should should search for my medals somewhere. I think that they're in some drawer. I still have to hang them somewhere.
What do you think? What would you be doing if you didn't choose an athletics career?
If I never had an athletics career,
Yeah, yeah. What's your other occupation?
I don't know. It would be hard. I think I have been always like busy with sports,
Mm,
as in like I like to be active, but no, I think I would like to think that I'm also like a social person, and I would like to help people out. So I think that I would have been doing something like either in healthcare or something
mm.
like that. But we will see what it will bring in the future.
Yeah, we will. Eelco, it's been great, man. Thanks for coming on, bro. Thanks for chatting to me. Thanks for getting
Well,
back to me. Thanks
you're
for following me
welcome.
on. Thanks for following me on the gram.
Yeah, you're welcome. We keep in touch.
Oh yeah, definitely, bro. and I'm gonna train hard later, man.
We will. I'll go get dressed and get ready.